AEW Dream Matches we must have. Following AEW's All Out pay-per-view this past Sunday, we saw the debut of several new and exciting stars to the AEW roster: Ruby Soho, Bryan Danielson, the in-ring return of CM Punk, and of course Adam Cole, baby. That had us thinking here at OPW Live about what kind of dream matches that we need to see from AEW. Now, unfortunately, some nameless channel had the same idea, so I had to rip up the script and flip it up. And so I called the only British person I know, and we're going to talk about these matches. Alex, it's OPW Live, player intro. So OPW community, welcome my friend Adam. He is a real-life British person that I got for this video, that I phoned him at 2 a.m. in the morning, woke him up. He was very angry with me, actually, very ornery, but we're going to make it work anyway. So, hey, Adam, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here. I'm tired, but good.
Yeah. So here is what I'm going to do. I'm going to rip up my script for the video that was, and instead I'm going to present to you a number of dream matches from AEW based on some of the newest signings we saw in AEW, maybe some based on some people who are on the roster currently but we haven't seen yet. And then we're gonna go through it. So let's go ahead. We'll get the graphic up for number one. All right, Adam, let me hit you with this. Adam Cole and Britt Baker versus Orange Cassidy and Chris Statlander / so it's like a 2-for-1 here on this entry. Adam Cole, of course, versus Orange Cassidy. And I love the face. Ooh. So.
I mean, you can't go wrong. I mean, as you've already pointed out, with the new arrivals coming in, you've got a lot of options. I think AEW hasn't investigated in the intergender tag as much. They've kind of entertained it a little bit early on with Chris Statlander joining Best Friends for the to team up against Miro. And I think it could really be an exciting prospect. Britt was obviously teasing Adam Cole prior to his arrival, so clearly they're going to have some involvement. Hopefully they don't ram it down our throats that they are a couple, like certain other companies like to do when they highlight on real life couples. But yeah, certainly. So
I made it a 2-for-1 entry right here because I mean we all know that Adam Cole and Britt Baker are involved in real life. We can't ignore that. I'm sure I just shocked you and like maybe all of our audience, but we can't ignore that. Not to hit it. So I figured, we can throw in that tag match together and then, of course, have this Adam Cole, Orange Cassidy feud. Orange Cassidy is the type of character I think that Adam Cole would just absolutely hate because of how much Orange Cassidy does not care about anything. Orange Cassidy would not care about the type of star that Adam Cole is. Adam Cole would be offended that this hobbit-looking person with ripped jeans that is loved by the crowd. It's going to get a little awkward with the chants because the crowd still does bae with Adam Cole, but I think it would be a fun feud.
I mean, I'm picturing my first image. I'm getting there. Adam Cole, Orange Cassidy confronting each other in the ring. Adam Cole trying to do his Adam Cole, and before he even gets to Bebe, Orange Cassidy just casually kicks him in the shin.
As you were saying that, I was thinking about as he goes up for the Bebe, Cassidy just takes his hands and puts them in Adam Cole's thumb. All right, so let's move on. Number 2, and this is the one I think that is probably the most likely to happen in the near future. That's why it's low on my list. Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson.
I think that's going to be the next feud for Kenny Omega. I think the teasing of that, they're going to go one of two routes. They're either going to go for one that you may gesture to later on, which is Adam Cole versus Bryan Danielson. Alternatively, they could be going down the Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson route. I know which one I'd prefer because from my point of view, if it delays the Adam Page feud that little bit longer and that Adam Page ascendancy, I'm all for it. And if Bryan Danielson is the man to be that bump in the road, I'm all for it.
So, spoiler, I do not have Bryan Danielson versus Adam Cole on this list because we saw them in Smackdown September 2019. So it's a pretty recent match in wrestling history, I guess. But yeah, this is probably of all the matches on the list, the one that's going to happen first. You know, if all 7 were to happen, which of course, since AEW, Tony Khan's watching this video, he absolutely is going to look to book these matches in the future. But this is, you know, the big match. The Bryan Danielson, it's going to be hard to like get used to not saying Daniel Bryan after so many years. Is the biggest star I think in wrestling right now, or one of the biggest. Certainly, you know, one of the biggest. You know, who was in WWE this year. It was now jumping to AEW. So yeah, and his style and Omega style, it just I think will work so well. All right, number 3. I'm going to lay a heavy one on you. So we have the return of CM Punk, and I'd like to see him versus Malachi Black.
Now, that one appeals to me. My only fear that I've got is that AEW are still, and the way they're dealing with Malachi Black at the moment, they're still hinting and leading towards the angelic return of everybody's favorite Lord and Savior, Cody Rhodes, for him to come and vanquish the dark-hearted Malachi Black, which is going to derail everything that Malachi Black has been able, and the hype that's surrounded him.
Yeah, but let's focus on Punk versus Black anyway. You know.
And I'd love it because you've got someone who is the self-proclaimed best in the world, and you've got someone like Malachi Black who is not going to respect that and would quite happily interrupt a CM Punk monologue.
Quite happily. You know, put aside the Cody Rhodes stuff. You know, Cody Rhodes is who he is, and AEW is who he is because of him. You know, this is why I put this match on the list, because I'm thinking, you know, Malachi Black is definitely not going to respect the best in the world chick. He's definitely not going to respect the fans chanting CM Punk. What he's going to do is he's going to kick CM Punk in the face, and it's going to be glorious.
And it would be a beautiful, stiff match.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a nice one because even though Malachi Black and CM Punk are both former, you know, WWE guys, it's not something we saw in WWE because they were in different eras. You know, CM Punk left well before Malachi Black ever joined WWE, so it wasn't even a possibility. So, you know, while there are a lot of, you know, former WWE names who may have wrestled in WWE under their previous gimmicks, you know, these are 2 people who haven't, and that's, I think, an advantage for pairing up a CM Punk versus Malachi Black, whether instead of a CM Punk versus Bryan Danielson, which I think is on everyone's dream list, but that's also something we have seen, even though it's been, you know, 7-8 years since we've seen it. It is something that has happened in the past, you know. All right, let's move on to the 4th match. I'm going to go on to another recent signing. I'm going to lay this on you, Ruby Soho versus Hikaru Shida.
Oh, as somebody who loves Hikaru Shida, and I think she got a bit of a bad rap during her AEW Women's Title run. From some circles who kind of were a little bit underwhelmed by it. I think someone like Ruby Soho, who hasn't had that, well, she hasn't had that much opportunity to shine in WWE, and we saw a taste of that during the Casino Battle Royal. I'm hoping to see the best of someone like Ruby Soho and the best of Hikaru Shida in a match like that.
Yeah, and I paired these 2 because, you know, we are obviously going to see Ruby Soho versus Britt Baker in the near future. And then I would imagine we will probably see Ruby Soho versus Thunder Rosa, which is someone who I considered for this as well. But we did get a little taste of it. It was cool. I think we'll definitely revisit that in the future. But I wanted to, you know, I wanted to highlight Hikaru Shida, who I think has kind of just been forgotten about since she lost the title, criminally so. Like, she was so good. You know, she carried the division throughout the entire pandemic era. No crowds, and was absolutely brilliant in the role. And I want to give her, you know, another elevation spot here. You know, as AEW continues to try to build up their women's division, we did see this past Sunday how much feuds are starting to like bleed over into regular programming. We saw, you know, Diamante and Big Swole, you know, going at it in the going at it exclusively pretty much once they were both in the ring. Same thing with NJ, and Tay Conti, and then the Bunny and Penelope Ford. You know, we're seeing the fallout of Nyla Rose throwing Jade Cargill out of the ring. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and I don't want to lose to Kawashira, and so I want to pair her with Ruby Soho. All right. So match number 5 does not include a recent signing, but I think it is something that we need to see, and it is Jon Moxley versus Tanahashi. It was something that was teased about 2 months ago, and then plans fell through, so now we're seeing Jon Moxley go through Japanese Legends instead. But I did want to put it, you know, up for you and for anyone else, you know, watching the video. It's, hey, Jon Moxley versus Tanahashi.
I mean, Moxley is still one of the best pro wrestlers in pro wrestling as of right now, regardless of people's arguments. Obviously, everybody knows the level that Tanahashi is. It's a match made in heaven.
Yeah. And I like what AEW is doing. I'm hoping to kind of continue with it, where Moxley is really just introducing Japanese wrestlers to an American audience in a way that they haven't really been introduced in the past. Like, you know, there's definitely a subset of fans, of course, who know what New Japan Pro Wrestling is, who watch it, who know who Tanahashi is, who know who, you know, Suzuki was when he played this week as well. And some of the other names that Moxley has wrestled so far, you know, Moxley continued to introduce these escalating Japanese legends and talents, and then finally getting that encounter with Tanahashi, I think, is what AEW is missing, and it's something that was teased in the past, so hopefully we'll see it in the future. All right.
They've already entertained the idea of some New Japan belts being used on sort of like AEW TV.
We have the US title.
Exactly. So we can see. I think we're going to see a lot more, and I'm hoping someone like Tanahashi is able to come over more than just teasing it. Actually, just go full out with it.
All right. Here's number 6 on my list, and we're going to retread a little bit. I'm going to take Bryan Danielson. I'm going to take him versus MJF.
Oh. So essentially, the most down-to-earth man against the salt of the earth.
Yeah.
It's already right in itself, and possibly one of the most humble and grounded individuals against easily one of the biggest heels in not just AEW, in wrestling in general at the moment.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of potential for MJF against Bryan Danielson, but even against like CM Punk. We could see him against Adam Cole in a different world where one of them's face. But certainly, I think top for my list, if I'm going to use MJF, it's Bryan Danielson, because Bryan Danielson is the ultimate babyface, and MJF is the ultimate heel. You know, more than anything. As much as I loved, you know, Bryan Danielson's run as the Earth's champion and that heel run, and I wish I could see it again. Don't think they're going to do that anytime soon. So we'll have the ultimate face and the ultimate heel here.
That's fair. I think what AEW have done incredibly well with bringing these new guys in is to keep the balance of the face heel dynamic. Even though at the beginning they said they weren't going to have it, but to have someone like Adam Cole align himself with the elite again, and to have Bryan Danielson come in sort of pure babyface, it's worked really well.
All right, and here's my final match on the list, number 7. There's the graphic. I'm gonna retread one more time with Adam Cole, and I think you have to put him against Hangman Adam Page. I don't know. I mean, I think you have to do it. There's just.
I think for me, the way they've set up Adam Cole working alongside Kenny Omega is a very, very clever dynamic to completely remove him from being an obvious AEW world title contender. I think that someone like Adam Cole can now be the final boss for someone like Page on his ascendancy again. And between the dynamic between the two of them it would be beautiful.
I think their styles would be great. The buckshot lariat versus the Panama Sunrise, or even just the last shot. The buckshot lariat versus the last shot. That's a great combination there too. But the way I envision it is, you know, Adam Cole can be the sort of gatekeeper for, you know, stopping Hangman Page from going after Kenny Omega, because like we all want to see when Page comes back from his paternity leave to go straight back after Kenny Omega. Like that's the thing we've been wanting for, since he joined the Dark Order or aligned himself with the Dark Order anyway. We want to see two things that have Hangman Page when he comes back. We want to see him fix the Dark Order, and we want to see him beat Kenny Omega. I think Adam Cole being the wrench in both of those plans allows it for incredible storytelling, and also I think they'll just have a great match.
I don't know. Have they ever competed against each other before? I'm not aware of it. In any
If they have, I'm not aware of it. It's certainly never in a major television promotion. Now, of course, I think everyone's wrestled everyone at one point in time. Especially on the independents, right? I always see it. You can pull up cagematch.net and you can see that everyone's wrestled everyone. There's no such thing as a unique match anymore. But it would be unique for network television for pay-per-view for sure.
No, I think it would work. I think the dynamic and that's the strength in depth that AEW have. But I mean, you've created magnificent 7 matches there.
Magnificent
with
7.
A lot.
What a British thing. With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. You can catch everything at OccupyProWrestling.com above my head. We are at Power to the Smarts above Adam's head on all the social medias, now here on TikTok as well. I'm Chris from OPW Live. This is my British friend Adam. We'll see you next time.